Hi, everyone. My name is Lorenzo Patelli, and I'm talking to you from Denver. Welcome to the New York Encounter, which this year comes to your place, wherever you live. I'm here with my friend, Laura Kelly. Hi, Laura. Laura, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, everybody. I'm also speaking to you from Denver today. And yes, let's see. I'm a sales engineer in my work life. So I work for a technology company, helping companies understand how they can use search in more meaningful ways in their customer experiences. Excited to be here.
So, Laura, how long have you been a sales engineer for?
I just started working as a sales engineer in September of 2020.
Oh, wow. So you changed job during the pandemic. What were you doing before, and how were you able to find another job last summer?
Yes, I did make the switch in the middle of the pandemic. What I was doing before this, I was working as a management consulting or as a management consultant at a Big Four company doing healthcare consulting for 4 or 5 years before this. And the way I was able to change jobs during the pandemic, it actually precedes anything COVID related. I met the woman who runs the team that I'm now on at a global level at an event here in Denver in the fall of 2019 and followed up with her because there was a lot of interesting things about her own career path and the work she was currently doing at the time at Yext that stood out to me from what I learned at that event. And from there, I started talking to other people on her team, and they kind of kept me on their short list for possible job openings in the future. And the last in-person meeting I had with anyone at Yext was on February 29th of 2020. And that conversation ended with something along the lines of, we'd like you to start working in April. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, everything was put on hold because of COVID. So the hiring was actually, or the interview and hiring processes were pretty delayed, but patience pays off, and I was able to make the switch in September.
Great. So, and you mentioned that during that time, you also started getting involved with Ergon Professional Hub. Can you tell us what it is and how you got involved?
Sure, yeah. Ergon Professional Hub is a nonprofit started by quite a few different people in our broader national community. And it's a professionally oriented hub that is focused on networking, mentoring, and skill development for people of all different professional paths and walks of life who might be at different junctures in their career looking for different types of counseling or skill development or coaching. And so what we do is we kind of act as a connection point between people looking for these types of interactions and people offering them up. So we host multiple skill development seminars every month. We've hosted multiple networking events, and we also just keep everyone connected. So people might, reach out to us looking for a mentor, and we consult our mentee list, looking for a mentor. We consult a list of potential mentors and connect them to the best fit. So it's pretty dynamic and always evolving, but it's been really cool to see it kind of get its legs during the pandemic.
Yeah, as we know, a lot of people lost their jobs during that time. And so with few friends, we got involved with this organization and tried to respond to this need that emerged during the pandemic. And so, as you mentioned, it's not just for people who lost their jobs, right?
Right. It's for anyone who has an interest that aligns with what I just outlined, which I think it's also worth pointing out that the idea for Ergon Hub came to fruition well before the pandemic and the global shock to the economy that happened in 2020.
So I think it's pretty amazing and impactful, the response and the work and the effort that all these people put to kind of respond to one of the most pressing needs that emerged during the pandemic, which is the for many searching for a job after the economic struggle that the economy had to suffer. And so I don't know what your experience is with Ergon, but for me, it's an interesting endeavor, and it's been an interesting web of relationship where you really benefit from each other experience at work. And I got involved too last spring with a friend. We were talking about what we were seeing happening around us, and we actually started reading a little bit about the funds that the government funds that were made available to individual and to businesses, and we tried to understand a little bit more to give advice to some of our friends who were in situation of need and wanted to tap into those resources. And then talking with the people in Ergon, we decided to join and become part of this, again, effort to respond to this need. And it's been very interesting. It's been very rewarding to be able to contribute to what is going on and to the need that are emerging, and but also to learn a lot. Like, it's not that we are expert or we are doing this full time or volunteers, but it amazes me, for example, attending some of these webinars and see the passion that people have in doing their jobs and what drives them. And oftentimes I go back to my things in a different way, more motivated, more energized, and also more aware of other factors that maybe I would not be able to consider based on my education and professional expertise that I have, which is obviously limited to my field. And so it's been very enriching experience. What about your experience, Laura?
In many ways, what you just shared completely resonates with me. One thing that I would like to add is I've also just been very impressed by what we've been able to do in terms of staying connected as an Ergon core team. So we're on a team with about, I guess, a total of 6 or 7 people spread out across the country, most of whom have never met in person, and who started working on this, a month or two into the pandemic. And just the amount of work and organization that we've been able to move forward throughout all of this. And, it's no small feat. We're using like multiple types of technology and involving many different, relationships and experiences, all to move Ergon forward and meet the needs that people are bringing to us. So that's always just struck me as very remarkable from all of this, that like, despite the fact that we haven't met in person and we didn't have any of this stood up for us, we were building it as we were going. It's been very remarkable, and it's cool to see the impact when you hear feedback from people that we've been helping, just realizing that, just being able to make time for the coordination of this, it's really paying off and making a difference in people's lives down the line.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that for most of us, 2020 has been a tough year, very dramatic for many, and just painful for a lot of us, living with limited social relationship and mobility. But you also bring here a nice and a sign of hope, because I know what happened to you last weekend. And so maybe you want to share that and how it started, just as a little bit of a sign of hope for the people who are watching this.
Sure, yeah, and my update from last weekend has nothing to do with Ergon, but yes, last weekend I did get engaged. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen, even amidst a global pandemic, I guess is the big takeaway.
And you met Ryan last year, right? Like exactly during the pandemic. So on this note, I conclude this conversation with you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.